Okay, YouTube, and as you can see here, I'm working on the brake booster install. And as my prior video, you see I got the whole firewall cleaned out before I attempted to do this here. But as you can see, it's out. And what I had to do here, these 4 pins are kind of offset to what the Wilwood has here. The upper portions are much closer together than the bottom portions. But if you look here, pretty much took this is a body saw that I have from Ingersoll Rand. Worked out pretty good because none of my other tools could not do it. I tried to drill out a bigger hole, but I could not do that. So what I did with the body saw, kind of cut in a 1/2 inch of a square notch through that hole, which will give me enough place so that the brake booster fits inside of the car. And as you can see here, this is the whole brake system set, the Wilwood. And as I come inside, it was pretty much just a pin that was holding the brake pedal here. And they have these 2 holes here. The factory was set to the top. But the thing is, the 4 bolts that I have on the firewall here for the Wilwood, it's set to the bottom. So thanks God that the way this car was made, as you can see, there's a bottom hole there. And it's already set, as if it was set to be made for modifications. If someone planned to do that, I did not have to drill a hole because it was already there. And then I'm gonna attempt to put in the brake booster to see if it fits in much more snug without a problem here. And I'll get back with another video once I have that in, and I'll pretty much show you. But I also wanna show you here that this is the factory brake boost, the brake pedal shaft that connected to that top hole that I showed you, and pushes out of the firewall to apply pressure to the brake booster. Now with the Wilwood, I have a different set here. It came with another set. These are the pins that I'm actually going to install from the inside. But it also has another shaft here. I just can't find it at the moment. It's actually right here. And pretty much similar to what the factory brand is. It's a little shorter. I'm gonna try to do adjustments as I move along, but it's pretty much the same thing, but just a little shorter. But there is room for adjustments here because the screws, and I'm gonna run that through to connect it to the brake pedal, and then I'll connect the brake booster in. But before I do that, there's a little bit of rust here. And I hate to hide rust like that. You know, there's much more, but I try to clean up as much as I can. So I have my Milwaukee grinder here, and I'm pretty much just gonna clean up the areas before I do the install. That way everything is clean. And I'll give it a black paint and just to go over those areas. Okay, and I'll update you with another video. And as you can see here, YouTube, got a nice black paint over it. It's just 1 coat. And what I'm going to attempt to do here is install the shaft into the brake pedal bar here. And it's pretty much just this bar, and it has a hole on that brake pedal bar that I showed you. And I'm going to just line this up, and then I'll slide this pin here, which also has a hole for the cotter pin. And then I'll update you with another video after I have that installed. But it's just pretty much gonna go up in here, and there's 2 little holes here. Can't really get a good picture, but as you can see, they're right there. And I'm gonna go with the lower one and see if that lines up with the brake booster. Okay, YouTube, back with another one here, and I finally got the pin installed, as you can see here, and it pretty much just drives out the firewall. And I'll bring you across here where it comes out to marry with the brake booster. And it sits right there. And I'm pretty much just gonna install this brake booster against the firewall. And it has another screw connection where that ties to. Okay, YouTube, and that's one of the steps there, and I'll move on to the next one. Okay, so what I did, I removed the shaft from the brake pedal line, and I connected it to the brake booster, and I think it'll be easier for me to kind of just run this through, and then I'll connect it to the line just to make sure that the length of how it should be is okay. But before I do that, as you can see, these 4 bolts here, they go into those holes, but there's no kind of gasket that seals the wall of the brake booster from the firewall. So I'm kind of contemplating on what to do here. I have this gasket line that I bought here, and it has an adhesive on the other side. So what I'm thinking of doing, I'm gonna line that up around the corners here. That way when I do put this against the firewall, it has some kind of seal so that when it rains, water does not fall and trap itself in between the firewall and the brake booster here. It's kind of thicker than what I would like it, so I'll probably shave it down a little. It doesn't have to be much, but just enough to kind of seal it so that there's some kind of barrier there in between both metals for a smooth surface connection. And then I'll pretty much take it from there. Okay, and as you can see here, finally got the gasket sealed around the area where I'm gonna run this through the firewall, and then I'll pretty much install that through, and that'll create a better seal, because I'm pretty much concerned about water getting in between and just sitting there. So this will kind of add some just environmental protection so that this does not entrap anything, you know, to create another area of corrosion. I've never seen this done, but I'll see if it works. Alrighty, and as the next step here, you can see I got the brake booster installed. Do not have it completely flushed yet. This is just a test fit, making sure that all of the holes line up. And as I bring you across to the inside here, you can see that the brake shaft here, it actually does not line up with the socket, I guess, where this area here, this has a bolt that'll go in there with a cotter pin, and that falls into this area here inside of this hole right here. And so what I'm gonna have to do here, I'm gonna do some measurements, which I already have, so that it lines up to the factory stock location as the old one. And as you can see here, this is the old cotter pin. But because there's so many extensions on a new brake booster, I can't go by the length of what this is telling me, because it's a whole different type of connection. So what I did, from the wall of the brake booster that marries the firewall, I pretty much have a distance here. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut some of the thread that's on that shaft, that new shaft that comes with the Wilwood kit, to pretty much line it up so that it's this distance, because I measured this and this is the distance that I need in order for it to line up with the brake pedal. And then I'll pretty much take it from there with the next step. Okay, back on the brake booster here, and as you can see, pretty much did some other adjustments here. Rather than to take the line out to cut it right away, what I did, I adjusted the bolts. Let me bring this back. This bolt here had a lot of play here. So what I did, I screwed everything down to where it kind of meets closer to the brake booster. And I also drove the cotter pin bracket here, which attaches to the brake pedal, to see where my measurements need to go. And as you can see here, from the distance of the wall of the brake booster, which attaches to the firewall here, to the hole where the cotter pin and the shaft will meet the brake pedal pole, as you can see, that lines up pretty well there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm actually going to cut this halfway because I need an open space here to kind of drive this in so that the brake pedal pole lines up in there, so I could put the pin in with the cotter pin. So everything's going fine so far, and then I'll cut this halfway, and then I'll pretty much take it from there to see if my adjustment's all right. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use a wire wheel to kind of just cut that in half there. Okay, and as you can see here, finally got the area cut here. And what I used the Ryobi, this little wire wheel cutter here, which is actually a good tool. I have to say, I got a real good, smooth cut from this. Very nice. I did not expect it to do that much, but I have a lot of Ryobi tools, and I believe they're doing a good job so far. It actually works for me. So what I'm gonna do now, pretty much just take this part here, and this attaches here, and I'm gonna drive it all the way in, and then we'll see if that lines up correctly as the measurements that I made. Okay, now as you can see here, finally got it fitted in, and I tightened everything, but just from a distance here, you can see that I'm happy where it's lined up here. And I'm gonna go ahead and give this a try. I'll fit it in the car, and then we'll see if everything lines up correctly. And that'll be all for the brake booster install. Okay, we'll be back with another video soon after this. Okay, YouTube, back with another one here. And I just want to show you again, I finally got this lined up here. Got the cotter pin, and it was pretty much a hassle when you're doing this by yourself because you actually need someone in the car to kind of hold this, because I had to move the brake pedal a couple of centimeters just to get it to line up. But as you can see, we got the bolts lined up, and I'm going to go ahead and line those in. And I don't want to just put a straight bolt. I want to put a washer in with it for a nice tight lock. And when I tried to put this washer in, it would not fit, because against that bolt you can see there's a little curvature of the brake pedal bracket that's against the wall. So what I had to do, I had to cut one end of the washer here so that it'll flush against that wall, and then it acts as some kind of support also, and then I'll pretty much just bolt it in. And as I come around here, I actually had to make it work for me, but every time I tried to go in there to put the bolts in, the brake booster would slip out. So what I did, I got a 2x4, and I pretty much just wedged it in between the alternator bracket and the brake booster just to hold it in place so that it does not move while I'm bolting everything down. Alrighty, brake booster is finally installed and lined up. Got it wedged against the firewall here. And then the next part is to bleed the brake cylinder that goes here. That way we have no air before I even install that into this piece here. But as you can see, the brake booster from Wilwood, purchased it from eBay, finally installed. And as we come around here, you can see that the cotter pin and everything is pretty much lined up here. Coming out of the firewall, all the bolts are in, and the cotter pin is lined up. And as I apply pressure here, you can pretty much see and hear that brake booster going to work, applying that pressure. Alrighty, and that's it for this series here. And then if there's any other changes, I'll upload another video to it.